Hi guys, thanks so much for joining me for this virtual class in May once again. This is what should be inside of your kit. So let's look at this right now. You should have your card base. You should have sentiments for the inside and the outside of your card. Of course, a template for the end. And I'm sorry, this is white paper on top of white paper, and also your stamped images. Those images are from Bo Bunny Simply Flowers, and I got that at Tuesday morning. So we're going to start on the card. What you'll need is the template and a pencil, and we're going to start by tracing this template on the outside edges of the card to make your square or rectangular card into a rounded edge on the top and bottom. So I'm just lining that up with the top edge of the card and running my pencil around. Now on this top edge, I've chosen to make my card a top edge card. You can also make this card where it opens top to bottom instead of left to right. Now here I'm tracing that center hole. You don't need to do that on the outside of your card. I just got a little zealous about tracing. So we're tracing along the bottom, and you, like I said, don't have to trace that whole inside hole there. So now we need to cut off the edges to where we have rounded edges on both sides. And I'm just using my Cutter Bee scissors here to cut along those edges. And I cut at the top, and then we're going to repeat that and do that at the bottom as well. This is very simple. You probably don't even need a template to do this. You could certainly figure out how to cut off those edges without a template, but I think the template is helpful whenever we get to the next step. So once you've cut this out, we want to cut that top portion off. And that's why you really didn't have to put that template, the hole in the middle of the template. We're just cutting this off so that the front of the card will look like the edge of the toilet paper roll. And you can just discard that. But we need our template one more time because we're going to trace this on the inside of the card now. So we line it up with that top edge, and this is where you need to do the inside of the toilet paper roll because it is not going to get cut off this time. So just trace that top edge and do the inside of the toilet paper roll here. And now you're set. So as you can see, it looks like a roll of toilet paper already. Now we're going to shade the edges because we want this to look nice and rounded. And one of the easiest ways to make something look rounded is to shade it because it fools your eye. So I'm using a waffle flower water media mat. Whatever surface you like to use to do your shading on, or your ink blending is how we're doing shading, then use that surface. I like this one because it doesn't move. Once I put the piece of paper on there, it actually sort of holds it in place because it's a silicone sheet and it doesn't move. So I'm showing you here that what we're doing is shading a column down both edges of this toilet paper roll because we're giving it the illusion of being a cylinder. And you can already see as that light gray ink goes on how it really makes it look like it is dark on the edges, just like it's a 3D object. So we're just trying to fool the eye. Now when we do this side, we want to open it up and tear this little edge. You don't have to do this. If you don't want this edge torn, don't do it. But I think it really adds to the realism and makes it look like toilet paper when you tear this little edge off, maybe 1/4 of an inch, just kind of a rough tear there, and then go ahead and shade on top of that, and it really makes that edge stand out. Now, I'm using the blender brush that we learned how to use a few months ago in class. If you don't have one of these blender brushes, they're very similar to the life-changing blender brushes that you might see by Picket Fence Studios. But we got these at the dollar store in the makeup department, and they work very similarly. So as you can see, that really shows that edge off whenever you do the shading on that edge. Now I'm going to do a little bit of shading inside the core hole of this toilet paper roll. I'm using Copic markers and I'm using grays. I'm going to use 3 different colors of gray, a dark, a light, and a medium. You don't have to use Copic markers. You can, if you're not comfortable doing shading like this, you can just take your pencil and fill in that core. Or you can use your pencil to do exactly what I'm doing here with the dark, light, and medium. All I'm doing is creating the illusion that that is a hole that is cylinder shaped as well. So you can see that I did dark, then light, then, well, I actually did medium, dark, and then I'm coming in lastly with a lighter color to just make sure that all of that hole is at least shaded. Once again, easy to do with a pencil as well. But you can see that really does start to give an illusion of that cylindrical shape. It actually fools your eye and looks like you're holding a roll of toilet paper here. Now there's one thing more you can do if you want, and you don't have to do this. I took my pencil and just put random little lines to look like the toilet paper edge, how it's on the roll. I didn't do these precisely. They're actually just sort of scribbles. If you don't feel comfortable doing this, don't do it. Now it's time, if you're going to use an embossing folder, to do the embossing folder. This one is Quilted Hearts by Sunny Studios, and I just particularly like this one. There's lots of other kinds of embossing folders you could use. Anything that's kind of floral. Look at the roll of toilet paper in your house. Some people don't buy quilted toilet paper. Some people buy just regular, and you can completely leave this step out if you like. But if you're going to use an embossing folder, which I did for our sample cards, don't put it in the embossing folder just like this, all the way. Don't do that. The reason you should not do that is it's going to emboss both layers. It's going to make it a little bit hard to open, but it's really going to make it difficult to write on that embossed layer. So I think the best thing to do is just put that very front of the card in and then run it through your machine just like this. I actually put the sandwich where it only is on top of the acrylic plates, are only on top of the embossing folder itself, so I don't even get any impression in my card. So magic of TV there, I cut to where it's already embossed. And then did you see how I was bending it there? I like the way it is another layer of illusion to make it look rounded. So now that we have our base done, it's time to use our sentiments and our stamped images. Now I'm using these stamped images that I colored earlier, and I'm using them because I hated the way the coloring turned out. I nearly threw them away, and then I thought, this is a good lesson to share. I hated every single thing about the coloring of these roses. I didn't do a good job shading. I picked colors that did not blend together well, and I'm just really unhappy with the way they turned out. But instead of throwing them away, I'm using them. Mainly because I don't think anybody will get this card and say, wow, that coloring was just terrible. The card is a little bit busy. Once you get it and you hold it in your hand, the people who get this card are going to look at it and think, oh my gosh, look, this really does look like a roll of toilet paper. They're going to be laughing because it's kind of funny. Who sends a roll of toilet paper to someone? Except, of course, it's very relevant right now. But once the card gets put together, you don't notice that the coloring isn't very good. you're just kind of noticing the card. And I think that's a good lesson I need to learn myself. But also, I hear so many of us in class saying, oh, I don't like the way this turned out. I don't like my coloring, or I didn't do this well. Well, we want to strive to be better card makers in every way, obviously, but you also are human. And so sometimes your coloring isn't perfect and you just need to embrace it and say, that's okay. I can still use this. I thought, well, I put a little bit of time into it, so I'm going to use it. Now, you guys can color your image any color you want. I know our original sample card was yellow. These are pink. You want them purple, blue, green, whatever colors you want to do your flowers, or you may not even want to use these flowers. I think this card is just fine even without the flowers. I just thought it was kind of funny to have flowers on there. And those flowers look a little bit like toilet paper rolls to me anyway. So I hope you guys enjoy this card. I hope that you will make lots and lots of them because I think they're hilarious. I will put notes into the bottom of this video as well so that you guys can see the inspiration video for this. But once we get this little leaf glued on, that is our card. And thanks so much for joining me. I had fun. I hope you guys enjoyed making this card as well.